Hey there, I am Barb Higgins, and this is 1,000 Tiny Steps. In this podcast, I share my stories of love, loss, triumph, and tragedy as I continue to retrace my steps and ponder what led to the death of my daughter Molly. By doing so, I hope to not only help myself, but to bring purpose and possibility to those who listen. If you are ready to laugh, cry, shake your head in disbelief, then tie, buckle, lace up, or slip on your shoes and join me as we begin our 1,000 Tiny Steps.
Hey everyone, Barb Higgins here. Welcome you to episode 171 of 1,000 Tiny Steps. In my season of lies, what's true, what isn't? Myth information. I tend to go down treacherous paths, and I could get into political lies. Of course, if I were talking about political lies, there were things that I believed to be lies. Other people would say, no, those things are true. I could get into lies about gender. I've been listening to massive amounts of podcasts on all sides of current gender issues right now. Fascinating information. Fascinating. But again, there are people who just choose to believe certain things. And so before I become one of those people that chooses to believe something, I want to make sure I've heard every side. So I don't know if I'll talk about that at all. I got into lies about food, and so that got me thinking about health. And I know that depending on what generation your physician grew up in, what cultural beliefs they may have, what social beliefs and gender beliefs they have, all of these things can play into what you might be told to do for your health. I don't think there's any doctor in the world that would say a sedentary lifestyle is healthy, but there are doctors who absolutely feel certain types of exercise are inappropriate for certain age levels. So like I know hardcore weightlifting is not encouraged for young kids because their joints are still growing and developing. They aren't fused yet. Not fused, but there's still space for the bones to grow. So doctors can look at x-rays and tell if you're done growing, in your teenage years by your growth plates connected. Is everything now the way it's going to be for the rest of your life? Heavy weight training or heavy intense training of any sort is discouraged. You look at gymnasts. Now, years ago, all the Olympians were teenagers, like young teenagers, like 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. This past Olympic Games, the gymnasts were much older, and there were many in their mid and late 20s. A lot of that comes from massive restructuring around how young gymnasts should take on early, intense training. And you look at a lot of the amazing Olympic gymnasts from years past, and their growth is stunted, and there's a whole lot of issues going on with them physically from the years of pounding their bodies and training through injuries. I don't think you'll find a coach or a physician who would say it's okay to train through an injury. I had a physical therapist who was a firm believer that if what you wanted to do with your injured area was treated athletically when you healed, that once you were able to, you incorporated moving it in your healing. So for example, I had foot surgery and they put you in a cast, you don't walk on it for 6 weeks. That quickly changed to maybe not weight bearing right away, but moving and not just, entombing part of your body and not moving it at all while it heals, because you're not going to use it. Your foot isn't going to stay off the ground unused when you're healthy. A lot of athletes that I see in the CrossFit gym at my age, especially women, have shoulder surgeries. And I know that there used to be a lot more time than there is now for immobilization, keeping the shoulder perfectly still. It doesn't do any good. Then you have to retrain it to move, and oftentimes you can re-injure it in the retraining. So I come into this episode, lies about fitness, especially for female-bodied humans, already acknowledging that there are also a lot of things that are told to people that are true. One of my reasons for being so protective of women's sports is that a chunk of my life, women weren't allowed to compete because their vagina bodies were considered not strong enough. Only penis-bodied people compete in sports. I mean, pardon my graphic terms for describing the human body, but when it comes to the body and what your sex, your biological sex, your chromosomes say, male and female bodies are incredibly different. And so I mean no disrespect by it. I'm just talking about the actual physical reality of the bodies. Female-bodied humans were kept out of athletics. There was a time where they thought women's uteruses would fall out. I talked about this in a few episodes ago, lies that women are told. So in terms of fitness and health, some of it's pretty generic and could apply to men and women, but a lot of it is specific to women, and that's where I'll go. So we're getting into the holiday season now. Everyone's eating crappy food and drinking a lot, and everyone's going to buy a gym membership January 1st and dive into working out. So maybe some of these lies and myth information in this episode will be helpful. So the first place I went was to Yes Fit. And the number one lie that people believe according to YesFit, is that strength training makes you bulky. This sent me right back to when I coached cross country at Concord High School in the 90s. And I had a runner named Beth. And she did not want to participate in any weight training because she didn't want to get muscly. She didn't want to look like a guy. And she was this skinny. There was no way in a million years she was going to bulk up and look like a dude. But that was her big concern, that any weightlifting at all would make her bulk up. And so I said, well, then I'll keep you at light weights, high reps. That's endurance lifting, which is better for running anyway. But it was really funny. She really, truly believed it. So here's the thing. Yes, you'll get definition. Yes, your muscles will get bigger. But so much of your musculature is genetic. I've been a skinny, skinny kid my whole life. I'm not as skinny now as I would like to be, but I am certainly not fat. And I have massive traps. I bulk up. I get muscles. I'm flexing for those that can't see me really easily, and they show. And people say, look at your muscles. Oh my God. There are people in the gym that are every bit as strong as me that have minimal muscle definition at all. So really, your predisposition to bulking up is genetic. If you have good musculature and you're concerned that lifting will bulk you up, that might be a valid concern. However, to bulk up, to get huge muscles, you would have to train at such an intense level and lift such high amounts of weights 5 days a week that the average fitness person that goes to the gym 3 or 4 times a week isn't going to quote unquote bulk up. And, I coach in a CrossFit gym, and CrossFit, a lot of people think that's all heavy weightlifting. And the number of really truly jacked women in terms of the entire membership at the gyms I'm involved with is minimal. The women that are quote unquote jacked work out quite a bit. Another myth that's very, very common, cardio training burns fat. At CrossFit Amesbury, where I coach, we have the CrossFit classes, and then we have the CFA 45, which is a bit more boot campy. And the number of people that feel that the only way you're going to lose weight or be fit is to sweat and be out of breath, or you're not burning calories or whatever, it's astounding how many people equate that with fitness. And the beauty of CrossFit is it combines all manner of fitness. So we had a workout a couple of weeks ago. It was 20 minutes of work. It was like an on-the-minute kind of work, but it was weightlifting. It was like goblet squats and dumbbell deadlifts, lunge walks. It wasn't anything that got you really out of breath. It was weightlifting. My CFA 45 class was concerned. I'm not getting out of breath. You don't always have to get out of breath to have a good physical workout. And I'll get into more of that as we go along. Another big myth is that you should work out every day. So I have a great story I tell. I call it Jello time. And if you make a bowl of Jello, the way that it becomes Jello after you've stirred it all up and dissolved the powder is to sit perfectly still in the fridge for several hours. And then it becomes Jello. So exercising every day is probably not a good idea. Now, let me be clear. Yesterday, it was Tuesday. It's my tap dance day. So I don't go to the gym on Tuesdays. I just work out in my garage and I try to do something light and cardio. And I call it a day off, active rest. So yesterday I would row 500 meters and then take a minute rest. And in the minute, I did 10 overhead strict press, still seated on the rower, only 15-pound dumbbells. So that would be an intense workout for a lot of people. For me, it felt like a day off. The dumbbells were light. I didn't row so hard that I was, way out of breath. It was just a movement, a workout to keep me moving. So I call that a day off. Then I had an hour of tap and an hour of jazz. Really 3 hours of movement. It was my day off. However, a day on for me is much more intense than that. But yeah, in general, a good day off would be to go for a walk, or maybe your day off, your movement is vacuuming or sweeping the floor or mopping or raking leaves, that sort of thing. Another big myth information is that yoga is just stretching. So I can't stand yoga. I don't look at it as a useful use of my time, and maybe I need to open my mind more and continue. I enjoyed it when I was there, but when my schedule got to be too much, I didn't want to sit inside a studio with a bunch of people and not move. I didn't find it enjoyable. So a lot of people think yoga is just mobility, and part of it is. Some of the poses require incredible mobility. However, it also requires incredible strength and balance and proprioception, body awareness. I used to say, I can pick up 250 pounds off the ground. I can deadlift that much weight. And lying on my stomach, I can't even lift my feet 6 inches off the ground. That was amazing to me, how limited my body was. So a lot of people think yoga is just mobility. No lie, it will help your mobility, but it's a lot more than that. Number 5, now I just used walking as a day off exercise. Walking doesn't help you get fit or lose weight. If you could only do one thing for the rest of your life that you could do any place you lived and didn't require one bit of equipment, walking. Or running, jogging, all you need is shoes. And even then, if you have to go barefoot, you go on the beach. Back when kids walked to school, when people walked to work, when people just walked more. Now you have families, if there's 2 kids, that they each have their own car so they can drive everywhere. Walking is an incredible fitness maintenance activity. And if you can't carve out time in your day to walk, start walking places. When you get to work, don't take the elevator, walk up and down the stairs. Little bits like this make a huge difference fitness-wise. A good example of this is something I often do. I call it frequency fitness. And throughout your day, like maybe it's air squats, and 10 times a day, you do 10 air squats. So 10 air squats isn't going to tire anyone out. You can sit down and stand up off the toilet 10 times. So you don't get much out of it at the time, but cumulatively speaking, at the end of the day, you've done 100 squats if you do that 10 times. Walking places, up and down the stairs, walking, to the water cooler and back, taking the long way, just building walking into your day can sneak fitness in quite well. Gym workouts are most effective. So I would say, yes, that's not a lie. For me, when I go to the gym, I tend to get a much better workout. I'm more likely to stretch and work on mobility. I'm more likely to warm up and cool down. I have access to all manner of equipment, and I have space, and I'm in the mindset. So for me, sometimes a gym workout is better, but I'm interpreting that as working out at the gym. I can be alone or I can be in a class. A workout is a workout. So whether or not you do it at your house or at a park or at a gym or in a pool or at a beach, I don't think it matters so much. I think in the broad scheme, workouts are workouts, and these kind of beliefs can put people off. Health is based on weight. I talked about this extensively a couple of weeks ago. I'm as guilty as ever. I step on that scale every day, and I have a weight range that I'm okay with. And when I get above it, I just get all angry at myself. Yes, body weight matters, but it doesn't. Body weight doesn't give you the full picture. It doesn't tell you the percentages of lean mass and fat mass. It doesn't give you water weight. There's a million things inside of your skin that contribute to how much you weigh. So the number on the scale is not necessarily an accurate indicator of health. All it tells you is how much you weigh. So I know I didn't work out for 8 days when my dad died, and I didn't eat real well. I lost some muscle, so I gained no weight at all. I stayed the same. So I thought, well, that's great. I stayed the same. So 5 or 6 days back into the gym, and I was like 4 pounds heavier, and I was eating better, and I was drinking more water. Well, I'm just rebuilding muscle, and muscle is denser and it weighs more than fat. So I always find that working out initially makes me gain weight, which can be discouraging to some people. Exercise is hard. Okay, exercise can be hard. Exercise does not have to be hard. It doesn't. Raking the yard, raking the leaves, or I love raking leaves. I can see the progress. I enjoy the movement. I enjoy the sounds. I enjoy the smells. I could rake for 3 hours, and I wouldn't really call that, I wouldn't think in my head, oh, I had a workout today. But for 3 hours, I was moving my body. And so that's exercise. That would be considered exercise. I was moving around. So no, it doesn't have to be hard. No pain, no gain. Okay, this is like my mantra. Emotionally, no pain, no gain. Therapy is supposed to make you cry. That's how you get better, right? Catharsis. And oftentimes exercise is physically painful. I think the only time no pain, no gain is meaningful in exercise is if you're an elite athlete training for a contest. And if you want to win the race or score the touchdowns, a lot of your training is going to be painful. That's part of it, training the mind. And I think sometimes pain is sometimes like the word anger. We immediately think it's bad. So let me clarify. I've been going to physical therapy for my shoulder. If I'm doing an overhead squat and I have a sharp pain in my shoulder, that's a bad thing. And I need to put the barbell down and stop. Working through an injury doesn't make you a better athlete. It makes you an injured athlete. Having said that, we're doing some lifting cycles in the gym. And there are times when my 5 reps at a weight is difficult and painful. And that will make me gain. But if it wasn't difficult and painful, if I was sort of fit enough to lift that weight without a lot of discomfort, it wouldn't be less effective for me. And I think that's the key here, that it doesn't always have to hurt to be an effective day in the gym. And then the last one is fitness challenges are too simplistic. I find that to be a weird lie. I think what they're saying is do this 30-day cleanse and lose weight forever. Yeah, okay. That's a simplistic promise. That's a lie. 30 days of anything will definitely get you started and make you feel better, but it won't ultimately be a lifelong change. Lifelong changes happen when you do things that you do the rest of your life. So that was YesFit's sort of top 10 lies around fitness. So that got me thinking, what else? So I went on a place called Sasquatch Strength. It was a general fitness, so aerobics, Zumba, dance, yoga, Pilates, biking, Peloton, all that kind of stuff, right? It was like real general fitness that lots and lots of people do. Orange Theory, which is cardio and weight training sort of combined. So Sasquatch Strength is much more into weightlifting and CrossFit style workouts, boot camp, much more intense, high intensity interval training style workouts. So some of the lies on these sites get into the nutrition side of it as well. And in all my recent talks about food, food is one of the most manipulated topics in health and culture and gender and poverty and race and medication, all of it. It's just manipulated. Everyone has an idea of what you should eat and how you should prepare your food. And most of the people that have a strong opinion want you to do it the way they do it or buy their products. That's what I have found. Your truth around what you eat and how much you eat and when you eat really has to come from within you and what makes you feel good. Sasquatch Strength, their first myth around fitness is fat and carbs are bad. So this goes back into the 80s when Pritikin and all these like fat-free, that fat was bad. Like, let's get rid of butter and milk. Let's eat sugared cereals and skim milk and let's use margarine and not butter. We cranked up the sugar and we took away the healthy fats and basically whole ingredient foods. And now we have this obesity problem. So fats and carbs are not bad at all. So if you've ever followed people with their macronutrients, you have protein, fat, and carbohydrate. You have all three of those things. And you have to have all three of those things. Those are called macronutrients. Foods fit into those categories. Many foods fit into all three, but some are fit into one each. You need to have percentages of those in your diet all the time to be healthy. You can't have a fat-free diet. A diet with no fat will cause changes in your body that aren't healthy. Certain vitamins and minerals are absorbed through fat in our bodies. Fat surrounds our organs. Fats carry nutrients and vitamins and things that our bodies use. Fats insulate us. We need fat. We don't need large amounts of fat. And then carbs, processed carbs could be considered negative, and that would be all the fake food. So sugared cereals, crackers, potato chips, some kinds of bread. That's all processed food, and you find that sort of in the middle of the grocery store. Granola bars, things that are processed and they're not natural anymore, and you eat them. Those kinds of carbs are likely negative. But, in a standard macronutrient diet, you have, if you had a plate, half your plate would be covered with carbs, and then like a little more than a quarter of it would be protein, and a little less than a quarter of it would be fat. That's a significant amount of carbs. So healthy carbs would be all fruits and vegetables. Some starchy foods fall under carbs. So pasta, rice, quinoa, all different grains, those fall under carbohydrate. And lots of diet plans say yes and no to those things. Fruits and vegetables, I think, are good on any diet plan. So no, fat and carbs are not bad for you. They're utterly necessary. So bad fats would be like hydrogenated oils. A good fat would be an avocado. There's a lot of good fat there. Good fats would be fats that you get in nuts and nut butters. Good fats are olive oil. Seed oils are not so great. Those have been pushed as being healthy. Yeah, you don't want to eat, deep fried foods all the time that are fried in hydrogenated vegetable oil. That could be unhealthy. But it's not because it's fat. It's because it's the kind of fat. So it's the same thing as the kind of carbohydrate. I eat a bag of baby carrots every 2 days. Those are carbohydrates. You can exercise away a bad diet. This is one of the main causes of the exercise component of anorexia. There are people that have negative addictions to exercise, and every meal is quantified and qualified by how many miles you have to run to work it off. So that would be a calories in, calories out sort of mindset. And we'll get into that too. Weight and nutrition is so much more than the calories in and the calories burned. It's just not that simple. So yeah, you could exercise away the calories, but it doesn't make you healthier. It doesn't improve. Sometimes it makes you less healthy. And all you can exercise away is the calories. Yes, exercise is good for your heart and your cardiovascular system. But if you're eating food that's unhealthy for those things, the two don't balance each other out. They nullify each other, if anything. You have to eat less to lose weight. So maybe you need to eat less high-calorie foods, less sugary foods, but less in general. No. People that really do a strict macronutrient diet are amazed at how much they have to eat sometimes. Like they get to the end of the day and they aren't at their calories or they aren't at their macros and they have to figure out how to get there. He eats an entire head of lettuce. I had a friend at the gym once. She's eating a head of lettuce. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I have to get my carbs. It was kind of funny. So no, that goes back to calories in, calories out. This is a huge issue for women. Women, especially menopausal women, women who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, men can follow a calories in, calories out diet relatively easily. They don't have the estrogen levels that women do. And then what happens when those levels tank? So they don't go through all that women go through in this regard. But no, eating less doesn't mean you lose weight. It's eating less fattening food. High sweat equals good workout. I've already talked about that. That's not so. A high sweat means that you got hot and you lost fluid. Doesn't mean you lost more fat and more muscle. It might mean you burn more calories right then, but there are also extra, so if you walk a mile or run a mile, it's 100 calories burned. But you run the mile and you have some calories that get burned as you're cooling down because your body is continually revved up. Walking a mile takes you longer, so it takes you longer to burn the calories and you don't have that post-activity burn. But no, you don't have to sweat a ton to have a good workout or to lose fat. High sweat equals fat loss. No, that goes right along in that one. Okay, so clickbait. Lose weight fast. Don't even go to the gym. Don't change your eating habits. Take this supplement. So in an era of Ozempic and all the other diabetes medicines that make you drop your weight fast, the number of people that are using those pills to lose weight has skyrocketed to the point where many diabetics can't get the Ozempic because the demand is exceeding the supply. Yes, Ozempic will make you lose weight fast and you have to do nothing else except take the Ozempic. But what happens is the minute you stop taking it, your body just reverts back to prior to the Ozempic. It's like you never took it and you gain the weight right back. It doesn't have long-lasting effects. It's not working on your system the same way hormones would work on your system or medicines that block body functions. Those things have lasting effects because the functions that are blocked are part of your growth and development. Diet pills, I suppose children taking diet pills could suffer because they have these developing bodies that need the food and the nutrients that the diet pills would make you not want to eat. I do know that Kenny is on some of these diabetes medicines and he's not hungry. He'll cook a whole dinner and not eat. And I'm like, Kenny, you need to eat. And he'll say, well, I ate while I cooked. No, he doesn't eat enough, I don't think. And that's nutrients. It's not just calories. But no, none of those 30 days to a healthier you work. Again, it's that simplistic clickbait promise. Targeted fat loss is possible. So I know why this happens. So if you want to lose your fat belly, do sit-ups every day. So would doing sit-ups help your fat belly get smaller? Yes, but it's not because you lose the fat doing the sit-ups. It's because you're building stomach muscle under the fat. And the muscle burns more calories, increases your metabolism, and causes you to lose fat. You lose fat systemically. You lose it everywhere. So I think this myth comes to fruition because if I want big biceps, I constantly exercise my biceps and my biceps will get bigger. It's not like exercising my biceps will make my leg muscles bigger. That's stressing a specific muscle. So yes, doing sit-ups will stress your abdominal muscles. Two things you need to know. Abdominal muscles are incredibly adaptable. So once you can do 25 of one sort of sit-up or ab exercise, you need to switch it out because you won't get anything from it after 25 of those. You might get an increased heart rate, but in terms of the stomach muscle, your abdominal muscles adapt really quickly. So if you want to do like 8-minute abs or something like that, every 30 seconds, switch to a different exercise, so that at the end of 8 minutes, you've done 16 different exercises. And then you'll have a much more complete ab workout that will actually develop your ab muscles. Does that make your ab fat go away? No, it does not specifically. All right, so that was Sasquatch strength. Those were their 7 lies or misconceptions. So then I went to look at South Side Barbell. So barbell, this would be weightlifting. So when you get into weightlifting, you have a lot of talk about supplements. I have baskets full of supplements that I take, creatine and magnesium and beet powder and super tumoro and, bazawala. I take all of these different things, vitamins. Probably I pee most of them out, which is what a lot of people will say. The best place to get all of these things is your food. Living in America, it's hard to get all of these things in your food because our food is so unhealthy. It's so processed. It's grown in such bulk that even the soil no longer has the nutrients in it that would be absorbed into the food when you eat it. So you can have a plate full of veggies and meat, and it could be lacking in the nutrients that you think are in it. So sometimes the lie is that supplements will change everything for the better. I think, again, that's a bit more individual. I notice when I don't take beet powder, I notice it right away. My hands and knees start to hurt. When I take the beet powder regularly, I feel much better. Use diet pills. Yes, diet pills suppress your appetite. Bad idea. Eat good food. Let your appetite be what it is. The more hungry we are, the more our body needs nutrients, not food, but the nutrients in the food. Yeah, we need the calories. We need to replenish our muscles and our organs and all of these things, but it's all about nutrition. So don't use diet pills. Don't starve yourself. Intermittent fasting, it's another diet gimmick. There's been a lot of research now that indicates that, yes, the timing of when you eat, maybe eating a lot right before you go to bed isn't the best thing to do. But at the end of the day or at the end of a month, how long you went without food or when you ate your food doesn't have discernible differences. So you need to choose an eating plan that fits your lifestyle. If you want to do intermittent fasting and you wake up and you've missed your window, and that means now you have to fast until midnight and you're going out with friends, you're not going to stick to that. Look at a more well-balanced. Extra crunches equals flat abs. We talked about that. It just equals better developed muscles in your tummy, which could one day help you have a flat tummy, but it's a systemic thing. Packaged foods, even ones that are considered to be healthy, are better for you, just as healthy for you when they're quick. So there's a ton of meal plans out there. There's paleo meal plans. At my CrossFit gym, people come in every week and pick up their meals. I always wonder about this because the amount of sodium that needs to go into a food item to make it last from when it was taken off the animal to when it was cooked, to when it was packaged, to when it was refrigerated, to when it was reheated. I don't know. I just feel like every step takes away from the integrity of the food. I think the bottom line is if you can cut up fresh vegetables and make a salad every day, that's much better than a salad that was made 3 weeks ago. If you can go to the butcher and get a fresh cut of meat and cook it and eat it, that's better than meat that you've cooked and refrigerated or frozen. I think prepackaged meals are never as healthy as just whole single ingredient foods. And I go back to Secrets of the Blue Zones. The way that people eat in the places they live to be 100 are they get up and they gather their food and they prepare it and they eat it 3 times a day. They don't have packaged foods. They don't microwave stuff. A lot of them cook on a fire. So then there was Nardia Norman. So Nardia Norman, I don't know who that is, but she has a website I'm going to continue to check out for my own self. And a lot of these are similar. You have to be skinny. If you're skinny, it means you're healthy. Nope. You have to sweat to get a good workout. Nope. Women should train like men. So this is a huge issue. And in CrossFit, in any given day, in any given workout, when certain implements are involved, the weight suggestions and the calories suggestions or the meter suggestions or the movement suggestions can be different male to female. And I know with all that's going on with gender and gender identity, there are people that would say this was bigoted, and it isn't. Male bodies and female bodies are incredibly different. So there's some logical ones. Women have wider hips. In general, most female bodies are wide hip. Now, I have narrow hips. I'm not a typical female that way. But women with much wider hips have an angle in their legs, so their knees come down. Their knees are not as far apart as their hips, and their ankles are even closer. So certain exercises could put a lot of strain on these joints that would not happen in a male body. So if I were introducing a couple, a male and a female couple, to CrossFit, and the woman was quite hippie, and the man has a more traditional straight testosterone style male body, I may increase the weight with the male athlete faster than the female athlete. Not because I don't think the female athlete is strong enough to do it, but because the stress that's being put on her joints with all the angular issues lead me to believe as a coach that her joints need a longer time to adapt to the weight. Your muscles can get so strong that your joints can't keep up. A lot of joint injuries, knee injuries, ankle injuries, hip and lower back injuries come because the muscles on either side are too strong when the joint can't sort of keep up. So we are driven oftentimes in the gym by our joints. So women and men should not train the same. I know that when we have workouts in the CrossFit gym with calories on the rower, oftentimes it'll be 12 calories for men, 8 calories for women, or 500 meters for men, 450 meters for women. Essentially, you're manipulating a machine. I would get pissy sometimes because if it was running, both the men and the women would run the same distance. And I feel like if you're going to be consistent with making differences, then if men were running 400 meters, women should maybe run 300. The issue is how long in the workout. If the workout is 20 minutes, how long are you spending on the machine, getting the meters or the calories? But I do know that if the percentage of time spent in the workout is important to how much time you're on the cardio machine, then women's numbers should be less because in general, women have smaller lungs, less powerful muscles, less strength in the pull or the push of a machine. Female barbells are 35 pounds. Male barbells are 45 pounds. I know a lot of gyms are just calling them medium barbells. There's training bars, medium and large. That's what we sort of call them now. In general, female-bodied athletes use the 35-pound bars. They're a bit shorter. The center of gravity makes more sense for a lot of female bodies and builds and that sort of thing. So no, women aren't just watered-down versions of men in the gym. Two very, very different beasts. Low-intensity cardio will not help you lose fat. So if all you do is walk every day, but you do that for a year, you'll eventually lose fat. That guy, Jared, that did all those commercials for Subway, he would walk to Subway, order a sub, walk home, eat half the sub, go for another walk home, finish the sub. He did that. So, I mean, he was limiting his diet, but there are faster ways to lose weight, adding intensity to it, adding a variety of movements to it, adding weight training to it. But low intensity cardio doesn't make you fat or keep you fat. Any movement is going to help lower your body fat. And then online gimmicks, again, clickbait, these online gimmicks. That's just what they are. Those people want you to buy their product. Then we get into some other interesting ones that go into the actual structure of the workouts themselves. So the first one, was an NBC News article. You should stretch before you work out. So years and years and years, I coached cross country, and we would start off in the gym. We'd circle up. We'd do a little bit of loosening up and warming up in calisthenics, and then we'd stretch. And I started to realize that I still, season after season, had injured athletes. So then we did an easy 1 mile warm up, and then we did dynamic drills and strides. Then we did the workout and we stretched after. And my injury rate plummeted. It was amazing. And I actually did a lot less static stretching. So I think there's a place for everything. When Gracie was in dance, they did a ton of static stretching. Well, that makes sense because when you hold an arabesque, it's a static movement. You need mobility and flexibility in the movements you're going to use your body in. So static stretching in dance and gymnastics makes a lot more sense than it does in running, where you're never standing still. Dynamic stretching is much more applicable to something like running. In the CrossFit gym, the only time we do any sort of static stretching for the most part is after the workout is over. And again, it's not holding it for a long, long time. It's very personal, person to person. But stretching first is not, you have a cold body. You got to loosen it up and warm it up before you stretch it. Treadmills are better for your knees. Well, there's an air runner, this really expensive several $1,000 treadmill that's called the air runner. Okay, that would probably be better for your knees because you're not pounding. But in general, the pounding of the treadmill and the fact that it's moving under you, so your stride is different. Long story short, both of them are equally difficult on your knees. So running on a soft surface, a dirt road or grass is probably better than pavement because there is a bit of give to it. But in general, treadmills are not better for your knees. That's not a reason to go on a treadmill. If you stop working out, muscle turns to fat. No. Muscle is muscle, fat is fat, two different things. It's like saying an apple will turn into an orange. No, things are what they are. Muscles don't turn into fat. Muscles can atrophy and get smaller. And because you're not working out, you might start storing more fat, but your tummy doesn't turn in from a muscly tummy to a fat tummy. Both things are still there. The ratio changes. If you're not sore, you didn't train hard enough. Really, I think probably the most amazing way to train would be to increase at a rate that you never got sore, that you work just hard enough to increase, but not so much that you wake up the next day sore and tight. I don't know if that's even possible, but physical discomfort is not a measure of how well you trained or how appropriate your workout was. Not a bit. Okay. So then there are things like the whole life challenge, right? Where it's mind, body, spirit. And a lot of my desire, I was just on a podcast, a wellness podcast, talking about how physical movement has helped me cope with my job loss, all the Roy stuff, Molly's death, being an abused child, and the number of abused women who are distance runners or involved in endurance athletics. A whole life challenge is all about, the strong is the new skinny, right? Get strong. What can your body do? Not what does it look like? Reframing beliefs. Like, I'm not going to lie, I like how I look when I'm fit. I like a flat stomach. I don't like the little muffin top I get in my menopause belly age. I like how I look in my workout clothes when I'm fit. More importantly, I like how I feel, and I like how I can move in the movements and how I can complete workouts with ease. So 3 lies under whole life challenge: the scale, we've talked about that. The comfortable workout, how they have to be uncomfortable, they're not good. The lie of routine. One of the reasons that CrossFit is so successful is that it's like not following a strict diet. The human body is so adaptable. If you eat a certain thing, suddenly it learns right away how to hold on to the nutrients in those foods for later use. If you eat a variety of foods all the time, every day is different, your body doesn't always feel like it has to hold on to something, knowing that you don't ever get enough this or enough that. If you were a vegan and you didn't get enough protein, your body would hold on to whatever protein you ate, which means you're not utilizing it properly, which means you may not have good weight gain or weight loss. But if you're constantly varying your diet so that some days you have a ton of protein, other days you might not, then the routine isn't a bad thing. So the comfortable workout is the lie of the routine. Workouts can be comfortable, but they should be varied. And then number 3, a calorie is a calorie. So, I suppose when you're just looking at numbers, yes, a calorie is a calorie. But if I were counting macros and I was using all unhealthy food to get them, my calories would be differently utilized by my body than healthy food. Empty calories are calories you take in that your body can't do anything with, except maybe poop out, but they're still calories. But what this means is as long as you are eating less calories than you're burning, then you'll lose weight. And to a certain extent, this can be true, but it also can completely not be true. And it's a bit more complex. And this is where we get into macros, fat, protein, and carbs, that you need a variety of foods and nutrients so that your calories are more utilized and burned, quite honestly. Candy calories are not the same as chicken calories. So then, because I wanted to keep going, I went to the lunge ladies, not the lunch ladies, the lunge ladies. So this is a big one. And this I find when I go to the doctor, I am amazed the number of times I have doctors who will say, well, you really need to be careful. Lifting weights at your age is dangerous. Well, okay. Probably everything at my age is dangerous, but that doesn't mean I should stop lifting weights. And I enjoy lifting weights. Can I lift as much as I lifted 10 years ago? I think if I actually ever dedicated myself to training as much as I dedicate myself to not, I could probably get pretty close and maybe even surpass my personal best lifts. But the lunge ladies, the number one lie is women shouldn't lift heavy. 2 things go into play here. Because of hormone fluctuations, there are times in a woman's cycle where her ligaments and tendons are loose, where water retention is bigger. These things can affect the integrity of joints, especially hips and lower back, but all of them. So you might be more likely to get injured when you're having your period. Does that mean you're not supposed to work out with your period? Absolutely not. You're supposed to be knowledgeable about your body, because that was not a big lie. Oh, you're having your period, you can't do anything. Well, you can. And some women aren't bothered at all by their periods, but women shouldn't lift heavy is a massive lie. And I have people say to me now, I can't believe you do that. That's so dangerous. A woman in my CrossFit gym is pregnant and she was all worried. Her OB was telling her she needed to stop lifting heavy. Well, obviously your weight, the amount of weight will lessen as your belly gets huge because it becomes impossible to do it. But another friend of my CrossFit at a different CrossFit gym did 30 clean and jerks. It's a workout called Grace, and her water broke on clean number 30 and she went and had a baby. Now, is that everybody? No. She worked out throughout her whole pregnancy. She was fine. And was that necessarily the smartest thing to do? Probably not. There wasn't a lot of moderation there. However, this is a well-trained athlete who knows her body. And there you go. So women shouldn't lift heavy is a big fat lie. You need to be healthy. You need to have a good coach. You need to move into your weightlifting with somebody watching you. Carbs are bad. Bread will make you fat. Okay, this is, again, one of the most common lies. Rest is for the weak. We go back to Jello time. Jello time is incredibly important. Death by squats. This is another website. So they get into some more things. So fasted cardio. When I first joined CrossFit and I was following paleo plan and wanting to lose weight, we were told to do fasted cardio. So wake up and do 10 to 20 minutes of something, go for a walk, but do it before you eat anything. Then come home and eat. And a lot of this was metabolism setting. Get your metabolism going before you eat and you'll burn calories more quickly. They're finding now that whether you eat before or after you work out or move in the morning, like if you want to have a banana and coffee and a peanut butter sandwich before you walk your dog rather than after, weight loss wise, it's not going to make a difference. So I think sometimes there are people that swear by it because it was part of a bigger plan that helped them. Like when I first joined CrossFit, I did that. My transformation was significant and quick, but I was doing a million other things as well. Deep squats are bad for you. Look at any indigenous culture that doesn't use furniture. Go watch the blue zones where they don't sit on chairs all day. Elderly people, old people squatting down, their feet on the ground, their butts on the ground, their knees by their elbows. Deep squats are not bad. What's bad is sitting in a chair, putting 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds and people in chairs 8 hours a day. Sitting equals death. That's bad. Deep squats are not. So does that mean you should run to the gym and do deep squats? No. Again, we live in a culture that has allowed our bodies to become quite rigid and quite unflexible. Deep squats in and of themselves are not unhealthy. If you can ease into it and work into it, you'll find that the mobility increase is incredibly helpful. Abs are made in the kitchen. This goes back to just it's all about eating. Because food goes into your stomach, which is in your mid-body area, eating doesn't make you fat in the tummy. It makes you fat everywhere if you eat too much or eat the wrong foods. Weights and cardio should be separated. So this was a huge piece of my training as a runner. Weightlifting days, the weightlifting was one thing, and then normally our cardio days came later. Now, CrossFit, I remember when I joined CrossFit, I didn't want to stop running because I thought, well, I need the cardio. I want my lungs to stay fit. Now, I will say, having given up running for the most part, when I go out and run, I'm amazed at how hard it is for me. However, I am also amazed at how out of breath I get lifting weights. You can get a cardio workout with a barbell. And so CrossFit, and the beauty of it is that it combines weightlifting with cardio exercises. So many workouts are, you get on the rower and then you get off the rower and you lift weights and then you go and do pull-ups and you combine all these movements together in one workout. High intensity interval training can be that way. So they should be separate. Spot training works. The only place spot training works, this is like, oh, do sit-ups to lose your belly, is when you have incongruencies in strength. So if I have one arm that's much weaker than another, yes, to do an extra set of exercises on my left arm so that it will eventually get as strong as my right arm, that would make sense. So that kind of spot training when you're leveling imbalances. But I want a flat belly, so I'm going to do sit-ups. That doesn't always work. You have to train everything. Also, if you overemphasize on one element, there's a funny meme. It's a guy with huge shoulders and arms and skinny little legs. And it says you're only as strong as your weakest link. Having imbalances in your body can happen from the spot training. And that's why it's a negative thing. Waist trainers. So those are those jiggly things and, wearing things that bind you. No. Your body is your body. It needs to function in gravity and in the environment the way that it is. Any of those spot trainers are not healthy. Supplements help. Supplements can help. If you're lacking a nutrient, there's no way that you can get it in food. I think that's a blanket term that supplements help is a lie. I think supplements can't replace your food and you absorb nutrients best from food. But I would say supplements can be helpful, but not as helpful as people seem to think. Cleanses and detoxes are good. I don't know that a cleanse or a detox in and of itself is bad, but it doesn't make permanent lasting change. I can remember doing cleanses years ago with Polly, and for a whole week, you just ate fruits and vegetables. Then you could add in like a liquid protein. They were miserable. Sometimes I'd lose weight. It made me reset my diet, but I don't know that long-term it did me any good. I don't know that because I did those cleanses, I'm healthier now, if that makes sense. I like how I feel sometimes, mostly for me, those, like when I'm 75 hard, drink a gallon of water a day, exercise twice, all the things I did. In and of themselves, none of those things necessarily make good health. But in my mind, I felt like invincible. And I think sometimes those cleanses and food challenges do just that. The 30-day food challenge, paleo challenge, 40 days of no sugar, during Lent, give up sugar. Are those things bad for you? No. Are they long-term good for you? Not necessarily. If they get a good change going in your life, sure, then they'd be good. A one size fits all. So this is the big thing. And I have to be very, very open to this kind of thing because my feeling is anyone that goes to a CrossFit gym will have success, and probably everybody would. But it doesn't mean that everyone who goes to a CrossFit gym is going to love it. Some people do not want to do that kind of working out at all. I have some friends that are very, very into like Strive, it's a cycling club, and they love to cycle with a group of women. Or I have people that like a Zumba or a boot camp class. I have people that love Pilates and body weight work. There's no right way or wrong way to work out when it comes to how you do it, like what mode of working out you do. I just think there isn't a one size fits all, and your genetics play into it so much. Your build and your body type and all that sort of thing, and your personality and your culture and where you grew up, all of it. All right, so then I went onto a website called Redefining Strength. What? And a lot of them were the same. Food is evil. Okay, crappy food is evil. Food is your friend. Cals in, cals out. Weight loss. Nope. So some of these are very redundant, which means to me that they're absolutely not true. It's correct to list them as lies. High intensity training is best for fat loss. No, high intensity interval training is best for a quick jump into fitness. You might notice it quickly, but long term, like my trouble now is I can go to CrossFit twice a day. I've adapted so much to it that I don't notice massive changes anymore. That the more I go, the more I have to do to develop changes. It reminds me sometimes of addiction. The more crack you smoke, the more crack you need to smoke because your body adapts to it and it stops working. The more alcohol you drink, the more alcohol you need to drink. The human body is just so adaptive and it does it to survive. It's kind of amazing, actually. So no, I think there's no one certain exercise that's best for fat loss. How your body loses fat is the exercise that's best for you. I think that's more accurate. So then I went to boxrocks.com to get some CrossFit specific, because when I was in the ER having my urinary tract infection, they all know who I am in the ER. I'm very, very open about my daughter Molly died here. You need to be nice to me. And so when the doctor came in, she was amazed at a lot of things, just given my physical nature, that I could manage a massive infection so well. But I said, well, I drink, 70, 80 ounces of water a day, and I go to a CrossFit gym. And she goes, I know. And she goes, I have my opinions on that. And I'm like, well, I'm quite sure you do. And the tone of her voice was negative, that she thought it wasn't good that I did all that. I had a baby at 57. Yes, I know a lot of it's genetics, but I have an incredibly healthy and youthful body when it comes to the function of the organs and muscles and joints in it. CrossFit is all about competition. Yes, that's what people think, because what's on TV? CrossFit Games. Crazy, crazy competition. And every CrossFit gym participates in the CrossFit Open. So yes, is it competitive? Yes. But here's how what it really strives to do is to teach you to notice your effort, notice what you get from your effort, and notice your improvements. And in the process of that, you develop the ability to challenge yourself, to take little risks, to go for it. And you build community because you start paying attention to other people and how they're working out. And those are the two things in my mind that really exemplify CrossFit. It's like being on a team. You go to a class, you're surrounded by people, you're all doing the same thing together, you chit chat. A coach facilitates it. You don't have to think too much. It's wonderful. People will say, Kenny does this. Well, I need to work out for a while before I start CrossFit. No, start CrossFit. That is working out. People think you have to have a level of fitness to start. Some of the most significant and exciting changes happen when the least fit people walk into the gym. And a month later, you're like, wow, you have made so much. Wow. When I have chunks of time away from CrossFit Amesbury, and then I come back and I coach a class, and there's somebody that had just started up I haven't seen for a while. I love that. I love watching someone work out that I haven't seen for a month and see how different they look and how different they move and all that. So CrossFit is not good for older people. This was the woman, the doctor in the ER with me. What are you doing that at your age for? One of the best mitigator of menopause symptoms is weightlifting. I'm going to weight train, and I would like to have a coach, and I would like to use weight train in my whole fitness program. So that's where a CrossFit gym comes in handy. To get any results, I have to go to CrossFit 5 days a week. No, 3 days a week, even 2 days a week can elicit profound changes. Helen at Battle CrossFit, she's in her 80s, and she twice a week for 1 hour. So 2 hours a week, that's it. And in a year's time, she's gone from hardly being able to walk to being able to deadlift with a barbell. And that's incredible for her. So, and that's twice a week, and not even every week. She'll miss quite a bit. My gym doesn't do CrossFit. So CrossFit is a patented, marketed brand, and CrossFit gyms are affiliates. You can't call yourself a CrossFit gym without paying an affiliate fee. And you're at a CrossFit gym, your coaches have to have been certified to coach CrossFit. So there is a lot of, it's like you can't own a McDonald's and serve Burger King's fries. When somebody walks into a McDonald's, they want to know what they're getting. And it's the same way with CrossFit. When you walk into a CrossFit gym, you want to sort of know what you're getting. But lots and lots of fitness programs are no different than CrossFit programs. There's a lot of 9-Round Fitness, Get Fit New Hampshire, Architect Fitness. All of these places are very similar to CrossFit in the style of their workouts. They just don't call themselves CrossFit. CrossFitters don't care about form. So it's not that CrossFitters don't care about form, but when you're using a movement in a workout or in a competition, you can modify the movement to be more efficient with it or to get more reps around. So yes, there are times that technique and form will suffer. I know when the way that CrossFit coaches coach running makes no sense to me as a running coach. But when I look at running in CrossFit and what the people who are doing it look like, I can see why they say the things they say when supporting the running aspect of CrossFit. And I know with gymnasts, I coach gymnastics enough to know that sometimes the way certain things are taught make no sense coming from a complete gymnastics background. Like muscle ups, it's basically a kip, but you can't kip. An actual gymnastics kip to get up on the bar would disqualify you from a muscle up because your feet go too high. It's just interesting. If you do CrossFit, you can't do other things. No. One of the major tenets of CrossFit is that you try new things all the time. Play new sports, try new activities, do something new all the time. Keep challenging yourself in different ways. And then the final one is that CrossFit is dangerous. I'll tell you what, walking across the street is dangerous if you don't look both ways. Yes, there are aspects of CrossFit that are dangerous. Squat snatching, dangerous. This is another way that men and women are really different. Men have a much easier time, for the most part, in the gym doing challenging things, specifically overhead or getting high up on a bar, all sorts of things that it can take women a little bit more time mentally to be comfortable doing. And I think women have a built-in survival mechanism that's different than men's. And if you look at when we lived on the tundra or in the jungle, and it was the women that were making sure the children were safe and on the lookout. So we're living and prevent us from danger of life all the time. Whereas men, to kill the bear or the lion, or to fight the tribe that might try to take over your tribe, they're almost seeking danger. They're finding the danger and confronting it. Whereas women are staying away from the danger. And I know this is an overgeneralization, but it's anthropologically accurate when you think of the hormones we have, what our bodies are designed to do, and why so many female-bodied people think one way and male-bodied people think another. And again, that's, it's different for everyone. Those were all my fitness lies. So what's the takeaway from this? What are 3 truths? Any movement and fitness program that you do, that you enjoy, that you can do consistently and create as a habit in your life is a good thing. That's true. It doesn't have to be CrossFit. It doesn't have to be Zumba. It doesn't have to be dance. It doesn't have to be swimming. Whatever it is that you like to do is what it should be. So that's the first thing. Number 2, there's no magic way to lose weight. And there just isn't. Some of you will lose it easier than others. But one major truth about food is that if you eat single ingredient foods, you will be healthier and thinner and fitter than people that eat processed foods, multi-ingredient foods. A crock pot stew is a multi-ingredient dish, but it wasn't processed. It's full of single ingredient things all together in one bowl. Nothing in there is processed except maybe the rice or the pasta, but otherwise it's single ingredient foods. So that would be a truth. And then general truths about gender and age. Gender and age do in fact dictate several realities around what your workout experience will be like. Both of those things are important to consider, but should never be limiting factors to working out. I think if people worked out longer into their retirement years, they would live longer and live healthier. Even if they live longer, they would live healthier. So that's it. So we're heading into the holiday season. Now is probably not a time you're spending hours at the gym because you're running around doing other things. I will say in the whole life challenge and mind, body, spirit, be good to yourself, be kind about these things because you will have time when the chaos is over to get back into it. I know a lot of people, CrossFit programming, for example, during the holidays, the programming is mindless. It's go to the gym, burn off some steam, feel better, and go home. It's not like, okay, let's train for Christmas. It's more like, yeah, let's move through the holidays. So if you can do that for yourself, then that's not a bad thing. So be good to yourself. Don't beat yourself up over the 5 pounds you put on or the 10 pounds you've lost in your deadlift during the holidays. It's all good. It'll all come back. Be good to someone else. Give somebody a free class at a gym that you work at, or invite someone to go to the gym with you, or go for a walk with somebody if they invite you. Be good to someone else. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Hey, thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. Feel free to leave a review and share my stories with your friends. Please reach out with your own stories, as I love connecting with my listeners. If you would like to get to know Molly, head over to mollybfoundation.org to see what she is all about. If you want to see what I'm up to next, you can find me on Instagram at barb_444, on Facebook as Barb Higgins, and at my website, 1000tinysteps.com. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter, a weekly way to find out what's up in the life of Barb Higgins.